East Texas Congressman Nathaniel Moran joining us now from Washington. Congressman, thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Hi, Blake. Pleasure to be with you as always. Thank you.
I want to start off by talking about something the House passed. This is some bipartisan tax court legislation protecting taxpayer rights. Tell me exactly what this is and how it ended up passing through Congress.
Yeah, the Taxpayer Due Process Improvement Act was a bill that I got passed out of the Ways and Means Committee, 41-0. It's a bipartisan bill. It fixes the tax court process for the benefit of the taxpayer. And the reason why this is important is because there was a Supreme Court case that came up just a little while ago called the Zuck case. And this poor taxpayer got into dispute with the IRS, and the IRS claimed that this lady owed about $28,000. And so they started going after her for that. And in the process of this tax court proceeding, then they started taking her future year refunds and applying it against that $28,000. And by the time they got through the tax court proceeding, they had collected enough from her future year revenues that they just applied it and said, "Oh, never mind, you don't owe anything because we've taken all this other money." Well, by then, other remedies that she could have pursued to get those years' refunds were gone because the statute of limitations had run. So this bill says, look, you can't do that. You can't take future years' refunds without the taxpayer's consent, and you can't just dismiss the tax court claim and then the taxpayer be lost without jurisdiction to get those refunds or to challenge that taking in the first place. That's going to correct it. It's a very taxpayer-friendly bill, and we hope that it will pass in the Senate and get to the president's desk.
And Congressman, I want to ask you now about the war with Iran. The president said a short time ago that he's in no hurry to make a peace deal with Iran. When we spoke with you back early March, the 2nd of March, you told us at that time you expected the war to last no longer than 4 to 6 weeks. Where do you stand right now on the situation with Iran? What would you like to see?
Well, I'm glad that the president has moved even more aggressively towards a position of peace and resolution in this matter. We've seen that. We've seen diligent work to try to get this thing resolved. And even in this past week, his discussions with the Chinese president has been such that he wants to make sure that we get the Iran situation settled. He knows that the American taxpayer is seeing the effect of this at the gas pump. And as a result of that, we know that the resolution needs to come quicker rather than later.
What is Congress's role here, considering how long the fighting has been going on? What role would you like to see Congress play in what's happening?
Well, we're consistently saying to the administration what we're hearing from our constituents, and which I agree with, and that is, hey, listen, we have really accomplished most of the, if not all of the military objectives here, and we need to find a way to wind this down and to bring our troops back to a position where we are not engaged fully in these hostilities as we are presently. So that's what we want to see happen. It's in alignment with, I think, what East Texans want to see. That's what they're telling me is we need to end this conflict. We need to bring down gas prices before the summer. We're communicating that to the president. We're not going to get involved. Here's what we're not going to do is we're not going to get involved with supporting Democratic political maneuvers that would try to undermine the president's military position and his negotiating power at this moment. We've had a great military victory, but we need to still support the president as he winds it down. That's really the essence and the spirit behind the War Powers Act is, hey, we want to wind down quickly as possible these military actions. The president, I think, is doing that as best he can.
Congressman, I want to ask about this race for U.S. Senate. Early voting underway as we speak in the primary runoff. And yesterday, President Trump issued an endorsement in this race. We weren't sure if he was going to, but he did endorse the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, in that race. You had previously endorsed Senator Cornyn. Well, why do you feel, if this is still the case, that Senator Cornyn is the better pick over the Attorney General?
Yeah, I've been very consistent about this. Anybody that's been following me knows I have never endorsed in a Republican primary top to bottom. I just never done it. This is the first time I did it. It's because I felt strongly about the fact that I think character matters, and character should be a foundation for conservatism at all times. The two have to go hand in hand. Louis Gohmert did the same thing. He came out and said, he thought that Ken Paxton was the most corrupt attorney general in his lifetime, and I think the evidence proves that out. And I was sorry to see the president take the side of Mr. Paxton, but I still stand firmly in the corner of Senator Cornyn. I think not only is he the man of character that can do the job, but he has influence with his colleagues that will help Texas. He's been a supporter of what President Trump's wanted to do, uh, given his position there in the Senate, and he's the guy that has the best chance to win against Tallarico in the fall. And truly, at the end of the day, that is critically important: is who can beat the Democrat in the fall in Texas. It's going to be a close race, and John Cornyn's the one that can do that.
And sticking with elections here, Congressman, and the weight of the president's endorsement, what's your reaction to the primary results we saw yesterday? Of course, the big one that a lot of people were talking about today was that Kentucky race with Representative Thomas Massie, one of your colleagues there in the House, losing in his bid for reelection. What do you think are the takeaways from what we saw yesterday in those primaries?
Yeah, a couple of takeaways. One is the president's endorsement absolutely does matter. I mean, it does carry a lot of weight, no question about that. And it did in that race. But I think the second thing that should be taken out of that is when you talk about Thomas Massie, I like Thomas. I like him a lot. But the differences between he and the president got very personal, and that was unfortunate. We really need to stay as a party on a competition of ideas, and we need it to be about policy discussions. And both from the president and from Thomas, they became very personal in their disagreements, and that was unfortunate because I think the loser in all that is really the American people, and frankly, the Kentucky congressional district that he represents, because he represents this voice in Congress that is this great libertarian voice, and he has done that for many years and done it successfully. And it's a voice that we need in Congress. And he's a great friend of mine, and it's just a testament to the fact that we've got to stay above the personal disagreements. We got to stay policy focused when we're here in Washington, D.C.
And Congressman, we've talked certainly about the news of the day and some things that have been in the headlines, but in terms of what else you're doing there in Washington, tell us about other things that you've been working on.
Well, recently, a lot of folks took attention to my Wages Act, which we promoted while we were in the district. We did a lot of business discussions, roundtables about our Workforce Apprenticeship Growth and Education Support Act, which was an apprenticeship bill. We had a companion to our Tax Court Due Process Act earlier this fall that we think will be included in a taxpayer package from the Senate later in June, maybe. It's a Tax Court Improvement Act. It actually went through and set up additional changes to the tax court process to make sure judges live by a good standard and would be disqualified. It gave some subpoena authority that wasn't there, that was taxpayer friendly, and it provided additional opportunity for taxpayers to get the resolution they need. Again, standing in the corner of the taxpayers, that's what we want to do. So that's just a little variation of some things we're working on. We've got some additional anti-China bills that we've rolled out recently and we're about to roll out. One is sitting on my desk in draft form, which we're excited about. We've got another one that we filed about a month ago that says, it's called the Deterring Adversarial Access to Americans Data Act, that will prevent companies that are using software from China and technology from China, and then using that software or technology to garner the personal information and data of Americans. It prevents them from accessing those key components of the One Big Beautiful Bill, those tax provisions that should only benefit really a domestic companies, or companies that are at the very least not engaged with business with our adversaries. And so we've gotten a lot of good attention from that bill as well.
And you mentioned China there. I'm curious your reaction to President Trump's visit last week with his Chinese counterpart, who is meeting this week, I believe, with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Your reaction to the visit last week?
Again, those that know me and have followed me for a while know that I'm a very strong and ardent defense hawk and foreign policy hawk. I would have liked us to had a little stronger stance with China. It is a complicated relationship. You know, if we had a Facebook page, that's kind of the relationship status we would put for our relationship with China. Is complicated because we rely on a lot of things from them. They rely on a lot of things from us. We could both do a lot of damage to each other's economy and to our countries generally. So we do have to be reasonable and prudent in our approach. But we needed to take a stronger stance and make sure that China understands that we are going to be the dominant force in this world, and that we stand for good, we stand for liberty and for freedom. China does not. And as a result of that, we need to be sure that we're putting China in a box, not let them put us in a box.
All right, East Texas Congressman Nathaniel Moran, thanks for the time.
My pleasure. Thanks.